Hanson's here. Isaac, you good?
I'm good. I was just playing guitar tech at the same time.
Yeah, I saw he was working on strings while. So, I met your son.
Yes.
Look, a spitting image. Tall. How old is he?
He is 11.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You guys, there's kids all around.
Yeah, we all.
Yeah.
Taylor has 5 kids.
Yeah, no, but is 11-year-old your oldest kid?
No, my oldest is 15.
You have a 15-year-old?
Yeah.
Man, what's happening? We're all getting older, man.
Yeah.
Well, it freaks me out. I mean, I started early because I was 20 basically. So I mean, that's not common, and I wouldn't
You
go
started
around
with
and say,
kids
yeah.
at 20.
Yeah.
Not music.
Yeah.
I
was kids at 20. Yeah,
you
music
started
was
with
like
music when you were 9.
Yeah, music I was 9. But
what can you say? He's just an early starter.
props to being a young parent, though. I will say I wouldn't go around saying, "Hey, everybody, you should start having kids at 19 or 20." But it is awesome to be young and like be kind of still have that connection with having kids. I mean, it's like the energy of doing stuff and going places and sharing things, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you have a 15-year-old, 11-year-old, all the way down. But what would you tell them about music? Because you guys, as Hanson, started again, like you said, you started singing at 9. You 3 brothers. Do they have interest? Any of your kids have massive interest to be in music?
It's interesting because they're faced with it every day. So I think it might have been a different scenario for some of them if it wasn't like, oh, that's what Dad does, Because we didn't have that. We were growing up in a family that was musical, but there weren't any musicians around us. And so it was very much our own thing. And I think it's different when you're looking at something and sort of comparing yourself to it. But
I mean, my boys rolled their eyes and were frustrated, that I was leaving town. You know what I mean? Like they were like, "Oh, Dad." It's like, so they, in a weird way, they actually have some like you say, some kind of like slightly negative connotations to music. Like, oh man, he's gone all the time. But for my kids, my oldest son has started playing guitar. My next son plays bass and stuff like that. I mean, so they're starting to show real interest in that. As to whether or not they make a career out of it, a profession out of it, who knows?
Do you want them to?
You want them to do stuff that they love. I mean, basically anything you do is hard.
I'm even meaner than that. I want them to do something they're good at. If you're a good musician, go for it, man. If you're a mediocre musician,
don't go for it.
Dude, I love you. You're my son. But, become a plumber. Become something you can excel at. Like, don't. Music is awesome, but it's so hard, and there's so much. There can be so much judgment and like self-doubt in being somebody on stage that's sort of burying your soul and all that. It's like just do something that you're good at. Do something that you feel like you can just destroy at, and maybe that's music.
Hanson is here. When you guys started, because Zach, you're the youngest.
Yeah.
But if you're 9, and Isaac, you're the oldest, right?
Yeah, I'm 11.
So okay, you're 11 right now, and Taylor's 9.
Isaac is
So I was 6.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was 6 when we started the band. At that time, we were just singing. It was more like we had heard 50s music. We had heard, rock and roll and Motown records and gospel. And so we were doing kind of a vocal group, sort of harmonies, re-singing 50s rock and roll songs. And very quickly, it was a couple years, and then we were full on, drums and guitar and piano. And it was a tool for us. For us, we heard songs. We wanted to replicate songs. And so the idea of becoming the band, going from just singing to sort of guitar solos and Chuck Berry and all that.
Exactly.
It was just this natural thing. But it's kind of crazy. I look at my kids. I have a 9-year-old son and a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, right? And like, if it was me, like 3 of them would already have been singing, writing songs at this point. And you just go, I don't even know. I mean, my life is not your life.
I think a lot of that is
extraordinarily driven in a certain way, though. I mean,
How at that age?
Well, I think it's really not an age question, I think it's just who we are, and who we were at that time. I mean, I was thinking about this a lot because this last year we were celebrating an anniversary. Mark years every time, but we're like, hey, we've been playing for 25 years, like since we were kids. So we did a whole tour last year, kind of going, hey, this is a big deal. And age is such a strange thing because everyone is not the same at every age. I mean, sure, there's a reality to like you can't read until X point for most people, and you can't drive, but you can't vote. But I think we just that's who we were, and like we didn't see a huge roadblock, which is a credit to our folks for just not telling us you're completely crazy.
Yeah.
to trying. We didn't see a roadblock to trying, and whatever it is, like there was a combination of just enough talent and just enough like drive and guts, I guess.
What's that like when you're that age and your whole world is like, boom, you're the thing? Because it happened. Yeah. What seemingly to us, it was like, boom, they're a thing.
Right. Yeah,
these kids are a thing.
So I will say, parenthood, I think, really enlightens this. The great thing about being a kid, like a young person, is it stresses parents out because kids don't think about anybody but themselves. And so when you're a kid, you're the center of the world. And when you become the center of the world for that moment, the
actual to the world,
you're still the center of the world,
yeah.
Right? So I think for us, like we were driving towards this idea of success as a band, and so the center of our world was that. Like, how do we get our music in front of this? How do we get a bigger show next week? What should our next album come out? And then all of a sudden, it's like other people cared. But we were still like, okay, what's our next album? What's our next thing?
Well, also, I mean, we were talking about age and how you start out and everything like that. I mean, you do have to think about it from a contextual point of view. I mean, when you're 11 years old and you start out singing with your brothers and they're 9 and 6 years old, and you're memorizing songs and writing songs, and you're doing that for almost 5 years. Which is making multiple records and all that kind of stuff. So that's like a third of your life.
In that
a third
point,
of your life at that point. You're like 5-6 years into making music, and then something really works, like on a next level working. You're like,
when did you know Bop was going to work?
I knew we were working.
When did
for
you
a
know
reason.
that song was like, boom, like this is a song that's going to change our life?
Well, I mean, the real moment. There's a story, and some of it's documented. The first time we actually physically saw it was a radio event in New Jersey at Paramus Park Mall, which was the short version of the story is that we were rehearsing to do our first major TV, and we kind of had our heads down, right? Because you make a record, you put it out, it goes to radio, and we're just preparing to actually come out and
for all of our
do
jovialness throughout the years, we were actually quite serious.
Well, I'd say we're way more serious in a lot of cases than not, but we were rehearsing to play Letterman. And we were asked to go do a radio show that we'd been agreed to do. It was kind of like, oh, really? We're rehearsing for David Letterman. It's tomorrow. And so we kind of reluctantly went to this a little acoustic performance, thinking that it was us, on a little corner stage in front of 100 people,
doing the kind of thing we'd done as a local band or whatever, doing our thing.
And the place was packed. It was 10,000 people there.
And that's when it was like, holy cow, this is the thing.
We looked around and went, something happened. What happened? Fast forwarding though, the thing that's really cool about continuing and back to that very first day, the first songs we wrote, is we actually genuinely are still doing it for the same reason, which is like that's an unbelievable feeling to walk out and see people singing your songs back. Last year we were all over the world doing that, but in the end, it's still the same rush. The rush of creating something is still like the thing that causes you to want to chase that next like 10,000 person crowd. It's like that's amazing, but you're still excited to walk in front of any a crowd of 100.
Yeah, I mean 10,000 people is fun, but I actually think theaters like the Ryman and stuff are probably more fun because it really feels like you. It really serves the art form really well, for lack of a better way to say it. It serves the interaction.
It's a Bobby Bones show.